debate, interviews, and breaking news. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Trudy sitting in for Elias for the next little while. I have to admit, I got a reaction from James Foster in my headphones when I was talking about our topic coming up just before the news. A vehement no came into my headphones when I said, should we be banning headers in soccer for kids under the age of 12, or actually you would think for any kids. You're a soccer coach, James. You think that even young kids should be able to head the ball?
I think if you teach them how to do it right, you're on the better track, because if you ban things early, kids don't know how to do it properly, and that's often when you lead to more injuries. I look at hockey as an example, where hitting was banned very early on at one point, and then when kids are able to hit, they don't know what they're doing half the time, and they go out and they kill each other. And so if you teach them how to do it properly and how to take a hit and how to take a header at a young age, you'll often see fewer injuries.
I will just throw this out. I played varsity soccer at Concordia after playing in high school, and the only quote-unquote training I ever got for headers was just visualize you hitting the ball, not the ball hitting you. That was the extent of my counsel.
That's not how I coach it, but we'll do some nice little tosses up, and then have some players kind of try to use like the front part of the head right there instead of trying to knock it off a part that will hurt maybe a little bit more, do a little bit damage, but try to get off the sweet spot right at the front of your head. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk to an expert, shall we? We welcome to, and by the way, we're talking about this because this guest is a professor at the School of Kinesiology and Physical Activity Sciences at the Université de Montréal, and has some knowledge as to what headers can do over time. Maybe not just one or two, but repeatedly, dozens, hundreds, at a level that you wouldn't think maybe would injure someone at a, we're not talking about getting kicked in the center of your forehead. We're talking about softer impacts, but many of them over time. Dave Ellemberg joins us now on CJAD 800. Welcome.
Hi. I was very interested in your discussion and your debate, yes, about the impacts of heading.
Now, you have a child who's played soccer, so are you comfortable with young kids heading the ball?
Two boys, yeah. They're 7, they're 10. Well, first of all, they're not trained. They're not taught how to head the ball properly. And in fact, there is no proper way to head a ball, right? We have to make something clear right off the bat. Heads are not made. We're not conceived. Whenever, whoever conceived the brain and the head did not conceive it to get any hits, even mild hits. The way the anatomy, the physiology of the brain is, it's actually quite vulnerable. Even if it's, if it's a planned header in the frontal area, what we know is accumulating those headers when you have over 5,000 over a career, or on average 800 a year, there's actually brain imaging shows that this damages brain tissue, and we find that cognitive abilities like memory, our reaction times, our abilities to concentrate, they're affected.
Are they affected in the short term or the long term, or both?
So by short term, if you mean a comparison between the beginning of a soccer season and then you compare again children, adolescents at the end of a soccer season, yes, there is an impact. However, we have to nuance this. We're talking about children, adolescents, adults who do at least or around 700-800 headers in that season. That's what we need to see this drop in cognitive function and this damage.
So there aren't that many kids playing that often that they're doing hundreds of headers in a season.
No, not kids like my boys, for example, who play recreational soccer. Yeah, that would not have an impact. However, there are some studies that have shown that they took young boys, young girls, and got them to do 20 headers consecutively, and then they imaged them, and they took some blood samples, and they saw that there was actually evidence of damage, tissue damage, only immediately after those 20 headers. So there's a lot that we need to know and that we need to figure out, but what we do understand is that headers are not good.
I guess there is not a lot of conversation about this in soccer in terms of a ban. There are guidelines from Soccer Canada saying, for example, no training sessions on heading under the age of 12, and that, it shouldn't be encouraged. This is a guideline, with heading training only being introduced at the age of 12, 13 and up, and kept a low priority, with dribbling more of an emphasis in terms of the drills that you would do with the kids. I'm getting the impression this is not sufficient to have a guideline from Soccer Canada, not an outright ban. That, for example,
it's a recommendation. It's not a ban.
Yeah. So, would you favor a ban where, for example, there is zero training and it would be a yellow card for any player heading the ball in a game?
For sure, but the question is, and the issue is, that this age, 12 years, is unfortunately a bit random, given that we know that the brain is actually most vulnerable to hits between the ages of 13 and 18. And now I can imagine your friend there beside you who's a coach was like, what? Or should we put an end to all headers? Well, probably we should. And unlike what was mentioned before, actually, Hockey Quebec has banned les mises en échec, so hits in most levels except for the elite, in the bantam and the midget, and there's been a direct correlation, actually, a significant reduction in injury, in concussion. And everybody across the world, right, the US, the other Canadian provinces, were really mocking Quebec because of that. And guess what? They've all adopted the same rules, because those changes that Hockey Quebec have put forth have made a significant difference.
What have you told your own kids about heading, considering that they might be getting mixed messages from coaches, fellow players? Oh,
yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, my kids, of course, like all crazy little boys that age, they want to hit. They want to do headers, right? And I often, I'm checking my son, and then he does this major header, and then we talk to them. But no, the coaches aren't really, I feel that the coaches, at least in my league, they weren't really informed about the consequences of headers, and I think we need to do that. I think we definitely need to educate, we need to inform parents, we need to inform coaches on the consequences that it can have. And I know that parents are really sensitive to that. They're sensitive to consequences that it could have on their child's ability to learn, on their child's ability to, the consequences on their brain. So I feel that if they were educated, informed, it would make a difference.
It is hair-raising. If you're hoping for a child in long-term health right up through their senior years, maybe you wouldn't want them heading the ball.
And you know what? When you watch soccer, and you've played soccer, and you've played varsity soccer, I mean, what's fun? What's cool? It's actually, what you do with the ball with your feet and not your head. There's not many, skills and not many tricks you can do, but you can do so many other things. And, when you watch a soccer game, that's what you're interested in. Those really cool, fancy moves, that kind of trick you. You think the ball's going to go forward towards your right, but it's actually, it's tossed backwards and a pass towards your left. I mean, those are really cool tricks. That's the fun part. So I feel that removing headers altogether would actually not change the sport that much.
Dave Ellemberg, thank you very much for the interview. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Professor Dave Ellemberg is with the School of Kinesiology and Physical Activity Sciences at the Université de Montréal. This traffic report is brought to you.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katie, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away. Stories impacting Montrealers. News impacting Montreal. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
Trudy sitting in for Elias, and I'm so happy we've been able to return to this topic because we had a bad connection yesterday with a treasure hunter who lives up in Laval, who is convinced there is treasure on Île Notre Dame, and we were talking to him about it, but the phone line wasn't good. Luckily, Luc Brunelle has made the trip into our studio, so he's in studio with us now to tell us about this mystery. You may have seen in the news, Le Devoir reporting that Parc Jean-Drapeau has decided it will not authorize any digging for fans of American author and puzzle enthusiast, obviously, Byron Preiss. Why? Well, there is just some concern about what that would involve, allowing people to go onto the island and dig for a plexiglass box with a ceramic key inside that would allow the holder to get a gem of some value. And this author, Byron Preiss, hid a number of these in various cities in 1981, and there are people who are convinced not only is there one in Montreal, but there's one on Île Notre Dame, although it's not entirely settled. Welcome to studio, Luc.
Glad to be here.
You were one of the movers and shakers who were pressuring the Parc Jean-Drapeau people to let you go on and dig, and you were telling me off air, 3-year battle.
More than 3 years, actually, but my first email really requesting perhaps permission to dig was done maybe 3 years ago.
Disappointed, but to hear this position now?
Disappointed, but not surprised, because, I mean, it's such an unusual request, and I didn't know what to do. Should I go to the city? Should I go to the park? Turns out the park has final decision on what they can do on their site, but you also need an excavation permit from the city, l'arrondissement Ville-Marie, where Parc Jean-Drapeau is. So you ask the city tells you the park, you ask the park tells you the city, but now I guess the park made it more clear that this year they won't be giving out any permits.
Can you summarize for us the evidence that has led you to believe that plexiglass box with the ceramic key was buried by Byron Preiss in 1981 at Île Notre Dame?
I could try, but in the short time that we have, I mean, I explained it to someone the other day, and it took about an hour and a half just at the site explaining everything that's in the poem, because each puzzle has a poem and an image, and you're supposed to combine the two to find an exact dig location. But just in the image, look at the city identifier, which for me would be the checkered pattern. And so I know the checkered pattern is not in black and white, as you would for race car driving, but it has brown on the hat and golden squares, and in the chest and in the man's lapels on his cuffs, you can also see that might look like a race track flag. And the biggest races basically in 1981 to me were Formula One racing. So you look at all the cities in North America that could have had Formula One racing, New York, San Francisco, Florida, and you look at the cities that they were in, those don't look like secret cities with a past and important events that happened in them. The only one I found was Montreal, which had the Expo 67 and the 76 Olympics, at least.
I was looking at some of the evidence that people have talked about in this image, down to the point where they're looking at the shape. This is an image of an individual wearing kind of a cloak, and you see that checkered flag effect on the cuffs, the lapels, and on the hat. They look at the shape of the mouth, and they say that is the outline of Île Notre Dame.
Or Montreal.
So, and there are people who, for example, think that the treasure is actually buried up on the mountain or buried other places. For you, the deciding factor was the checkered flag, associating that with Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Especially since in the image, the jewel is in the man's hat or bonnet, so inside the checkered pattern. So if you have the race course, the F1 race course on Notre Dame Island, it would be inside the race course, buried somewhere.
Ooh, okay.
To me, that's a pretty good clue. Then you have the flower. The flower, each puzzle has a birth flower and a birth stone. For October, the Montreal puzzle, it's the Cosmos flower. Also, I believe the Calendula. But I mean, it kind of looks like a Cosmos flower. And at Parc Jean-Drapeau, we have a bridge uniting St. Helens Island to Notre Dame Island called the Cosmos Walk Bridge. So to me, that's another clue. And the fingers. The fingers, I believe, could be the Alexander Calder tree-disc statue.
Oh.
So to me, those three things, also the fingers, could be the beginning of the grand staircase on Mount Royal, which is called the Serpentine. So you have the Peel staircase, which is much more abrupt, and you have the Serpentine staircase, which kind of like gradually makes its way up to at least half of Mount Royal before you reach the top. So the fingers, I mean, for the tree-disc statue, that could be another clue for the site.
I was reading that there's going to be some work done on the island next year, and you're hoping that maybe park officials will allow you to go and do a little bit of digging in conjunction with that. How are you rating your chances on a scale of 1 to 10 that next year might be your year?
Not very good, because where I think it's buried, it hasn't changed in 44 years, ever since the 1981, after the 1980 Florales. That's where they did the Israel Garden, and it hasn't changed in 44 years because the Jewish community, the city, and the park all have I don't want to say rights, but have
like an interest in it, yeah.
And they simply couldn't just bulldoze it or decide to change it completely without the city and the Jewish community or the agreeing on what the changes should be. So I don't think they're going to do any renovations where I think it's buried next year over there. But it might allow them to at least give permission elsewhere, perhaps, during the renovations.
To rule out other areas.
Exactly.
How big a hole would you need to dig? Based on your evidence, how close do you think you are?
Give me half a meter.
Half a meter?
Half a meter, and I think... Well, of course, I would love you if you would give me 2 meters. I mean,
or 10.
just to make absolutely sure. But I believe with the cardinal direction that he gave and the number of steps, I believe, give me half a meter and I would be satisfied. Even though in France they found, I don't know if you heard about this, the golden owl in 2024, a statue that had been buried for 24 years, and they finally found it, and it was inches from where the man 22 years ago had dug and had not found it. So it was really, really close. So every time I think of give me half a meter, I'm always, give me a meter at least. You know?
Yeah, I get that.
I'm pretty confident.
Are you losing hope you're ever going to get a chance to dig?
No, because I believe, just like the director of operations at the park last year when she had her interview for the Devoir article that was published in January, she's curious, she's interested. People hear about this, and I'm not saying anyone who hears about it is interested, but a lot of people are curious. So,
we talked about this on the air the other day, that the park people could make this into a big PR win. Have this international event. We're digging for treasure on Ile Notre Dame. I
regret that my first email, I didn't include the fact that we could collaborate together, me and the park. Perhaps they keep the treasure chest or the cask, and I keep the jewel, and it would have been sort of a collaboration. So not even permits or anything like that, like a straight out, you get a little something, I get a little something, we work together, you use your employees on your time with your tools, and that would have been the best way. But that was my second email. My first email, I didn't mention it, and from what I heard, all my subsequent emails were simply just deleted. Because when you mention treasure and digging,
it's
local
the
parks. Yeah, they don't
conjures up the image of backhoes.
Exactly. And I understand that they don't want the heritage of the site to be damaged or anyone get hurt digging. But I believe, with a little common sense, we can dig where there's no power lines, no pipes, and we can make sure that even when we plug up the hole, no one would even know that we dug there. That
half-meter square hole.
Exactly.
Right. Look,
and perhaps a meter long in depth. So.
I am very pleased that you were able to come in, Luc Brunelle, to update us about this. Good luck to you. I hope you get an answer. I hope you get a positive answer now. I kind of understood that maybe random digging wouldn't be a good idea, but a targeted one, maybe a tourism boost for the city, that would be great. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
We come back after the news update, we'll talk about those new Chinese EVs coming into Montreal.
This newscast is brought to you by Supermarché Acavan. Cool off this summer with fresh, sweet watermelon from Supermarché Acavan. Choose from juicy whole watermelons or freshly sliced, ready to eat.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch. The Elias Macco Show on demand.
On demand. Don't miss a thing.
Find your favorite clips at CJAD800.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
New Chinese EVs that will be coming to Canada, some of them on display here in Montreal as the Canadian distributor ramps up its contacts with potential buyers. We'll talk to one of the people at North World Industry coming up.
Your mom told you not to talk back, but we feel very differently. In fact,
we want you to talk back and record your comment via the CJAD 800 page on the iHeartRadio app.
Another way to have your say on the voice of the community.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
La STM vous souhaite la bienvenue à bord.
Bus, metro, train, drive, in transit is on the Elias Macco Show. CJAD 800.
Bertie Mason sitting in for Elias for the next little while. You may have heard that Chinese automaker Dongfeng is preparing to enter the Canadian market with electric vehicles at a price point that may be interesting to some consumers who felt that e-vehicles were out of their reach. These are going to come in under $35,000. The company this week has started showcasing its lineup here in Montreal as it works toward Canadian certification. The first models possibly arriving next year. Here to tell us more about the arrival of Dongfeng here in Montreal is Basiliano Galvez, commercial advisor at North World Industry, which is the official distributor of Dongfeng vehicles in Canada. Welcome to CJAD.
Thank you.
Tell us about this Chinese automaker coming to Canada. This is under the levy break, the tariff break that Ottawa granted. 49,000 electric vehicles made in China coming into Canada this year, and that's expected to go up 5% every year for 5 years under this arrangement. What is the splash being made this week? How many vehicles are you showcasing?
Actually, for this year, as you correctly say, the quota is 49,000 vehicles with a limit price of $35,000 Canadian. We are now involved in the homologation process, which usually takes from 5 to 6 months, and according to the Transport Canada's regulation, we are allowed to make that homologation in the country of the producer. So it's not likely that within this year we will be able to start selling the electric vehicles that we selected to be introduced firstly into Canada, because we imported 6 models of the main 3 categories that we intend to introduce to Canada. 2 of them, which are the Box 01 model and the Vigo, which are 100% electric vehicles, will pass this process of homologation. So it will take from 5 to 6 months since we can present to Transport Canada our application for the homologation.
When will Canadians be able to actually purchase one of these vehicles? It's well into next year then?
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say. We think that it will be at the beginning of 2027 to be realistic.
And you're talking about the vehicles that are coming in being two, you said in 2 categories, 2 of them are 100% electric. Yes. What kind of range do these vehicles have?
Well, these vehicles has batteries, a lithium ferrum phosphate of 43.8 kilowatt hours and 51.8 kilowatt hours capacity. It allows them to reach a range of 330 kilometers, the smaller ones, the Box 01, and the Vigo, which has a bigger battery of 470 kilometers, according to the Chinese standard CLTC. These vehicles are fully electric and can be charged with direct current in 30 minutes from 20 to 80%, and also can be charged at home with altered current with semi-fast chargers in around 6.6 hours, more or less.
Are they adapted? Are these vehicles going to be suitable for Canada's weather? Because we have some wonky weather here, particularly in the winter.
Yes, correct. These vehicles are already tested in Europe, in countries with a similar weather, well, not so tough as in Canada, but in some of them, yes. In Norway, for example, in Denmark, they are being sold in Canada, in the Netherlands, for example. The Netherlands know these 2 models for maybe 2 years now, and they are used in the government of the Netherlands, and they pass all tests successfully. No problem with the climate. They are prepared for that. They have a very intelligent battery system that can warm the battery in those conditions when the temperatures are very low, and they are already tested. We have no doubts about that.
I want to ask you questions about 2 issues that I think a lot of Canadian consumers would want to raise when it comes to products like this coming out of China. Yes. The first one is, are these vehicles made with forced labor? Are you able to guarantee there is no forced labor in any part of the production chain?
Well, this is an interesting question. Yes. We, as a Canadian company, are committed to respect the legislation of Canada. which we actually do. And we have very close contacts with Dongfeng. We visit them every year. We visit their plants, and we can see at site how they are produced, the conditions that the workers have, and we have never seen anything like that in China. And we are sure that this is not an issue. Otherwise, they are audited by a system that complies with the alliances that they have. They cooperate with Nissan, with Honda, with Stellantis, and of course they are submitted to regular audits every year. And we ourselves visited the plants in China, many of them, and we didn't see anything like that.
All right. My second question has to do with whether there's any spying software on board. This is a concern not just of ordinary Canadian consumers, that there will be data gathered about their use of the vehicle, where it is at all times, what is being said inside the car, and so on, to the point where even we're hearing chatter out of the U.S. that the U.S. may ban the entry of these vehicles at border crossings into the States. So, spying software, anything on board?
Well, I can tell you, as I told you before, these vehicles are widely sold in Europe, and Europe's certification is one of the world's most rigorous personal data protection rules. So, it is impossible, according to the softwares installed in the car, that there could be some kind of a spying. It's proof already. They pass all the certification and the requirements of Europe certification, which guarantee that personal data are completely fully protected.
The vehicles being sold right now in Europe are the ones that are going to be coming to Canada as well?
Yes, correct. The Box 01 and the Vigo, as I told you, the government of the Netherlands are using the Vigo and the Box for their employees widely. They are already running in Europe more than 2 years, 2-3 years more or less.
While waiting for the approval and the official sales to start, is there anywhere that Montrealers can get a closer look at the vehicles that you're going to be importing?
Yes, the vehicles are here now. They are right in the old port. We are going to bring them today to the warehouse where we keep them, because they are on a temporary regime of imports, so they cannot run in the city. We have the intention of keeping them here up to the 1st of November, so anybody who is interested can visit us, and we can coordinate any visit, and the vehicles can be inspected, studied, whatever you would like to do. We are ready for that.
I thank you very much for your time today. Thanks for the interview.
Oh, thank you to you.
Basiliano Galvez is the commercial advisor at North World Industry, the official distributor of Chinese-made Dongfeng vehicles in Canada.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Breaking news. Considered. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
Shirley Mason sitting in. I don't know if it's breaking news, but I'm looking at some rather threatening looking clouds to the south and east of our position here on the eastern end of downtown Montreal. And we had a text in about just over half an hour ago about a major downpour in Terrebonne with treacherous driving on the highway. So if this storm is moving through where you are, please do take care on the roads. We do have that chance of showers and a risk of a thunderstorm through the rest of the morning and the afternoon as well. On our way to a high of 25, 23 right now in Montreal. Speaking of driving, missed my chance after I was warned yesterday here on CJAD 800 that gas prices were going to go up. I missed my chance to tank up at the evening price last night, and this morning it was $1.90. Let's get another expert warning from Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. Dan, welcome back to CJAD 800.
Good to be here, although being the voice of doom isn't always the most thrilling part of what I do.
Yeah, I understand. I think everyone had been hoping that a couple of weeks ago, with peace on the horizon between the U.S. and Iran, and talk about the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, that lower gas prices might save the latter part of our vacation time. It seems that no, that's not going to happen. What are you foreseeing? What kind of movement on the world markets that may be affecting us for the next few months?
Yeah, prices are up about 35 cents a liter from this time last year here in Montreal, right across much of the country. And that would have been a little higher if the federal government had kept its excise tax on. So for now, it's a little less than what was otherwise expected. But the big issue here is these prices, if you can believe it, are way too low considering the severity of the scarcity of the supply shortage for oil and now for diesel and gasoline as a result of what has been an extended war and countries using up their reserves, their emergency supplies to make up the difference of what's being lost, not just, in the Straits of Hormuz, with the on-again, off-again closure, but also recent developments such that we're not paying a lot of attention to, the drone strikes on Russian oil and gasoline infrastructure has put Russia in a position where it's no longer exporting and it's actually importing a lot of fuel. We're looking at the alternative for many countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia to use pipelines to go through either the other side of the Gulf of Oman or off of Oman, or in the case of Saudi Arabia, sending it through the Red Sea. Those areas are being blocked off as well because Saudi Arabia and Yemen have gone into some kind of a conflict with each other that could shut off the alternative route of the Red Sea into the Gulf of Aden. The reality here is also that China has to come up for air. Sooner or later, it has to import. It can't continue to shy away imports because it is using 22 million barrels a day, of which 2/3 of that is imported. So what this all means is that pulled together, recognizing the United States next week or the week after will no longer have spare barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It can't go below 300 million without operational problems and limitations. We're looking at continuation of an escalation in high prices. Now, I said at the beginning these were low. They were played by futures commodities traders who decided they were going to short sell oil despite the fact that it's in a very serious shortage, and that it's historical. 1.5 billion barrels are missing in the world today to make up the difference.
Well, I guess the next question has to be, let's rip the Band-Aid off right away, Dan. How high? How high?
Yeah, I mean, look, oil is trading on spot markets for $130 a barrel, not 80 or 79 or last week 68. And the short sellers are really going to get burnt here because they can't cover these positions very long, given the reality that the world is running out of fuel. I think 20 to 30 more cents a liter, so $2.10, $2.15, wouldn't surprise me in the first, maybe latest second week of August. I know it's still a long way off, but the moment the declaration is made that the SPR can no longer supply swing barrels of oil or buttress the market with this cushion, I think the fur is going to fly, and even those who've been trying to sell oil short are going to find that they have to trade in those positions in favor of escalating prices, not just of oil, but as I mentioned, diesel, gasoline, jet fuel, and the like. So we're dealing with a shortage, and that could not just mean high prices. It could mean, in some parts of the world, in a lot of parts of the world, scarcity of supply. In other words, a lot of countries may be going to rationing very soon. Canada included? Not necessarily. We do have our own matrix here, but Americans next week will no longer be able to supply as much oil as they did in the past, or finished product. So, you know, in many parts of eastern Canada, here in Quebec, of course, some of our oil comes from the Bakken and from the West Texas Intermediate, from the Midland area of Texas, the Permian. That may start to get curtailed as the Americans realize they've got to keep enough for themselves. So it could mean allocation, could mean some difficulty as we head into the month of September as far as being able to make sure there's adequate supply in Canada. Remember, eastern Canada gets a lot of its oil imported, although we make enough here. The reality is that the feedstock is coming from an area of the world that's we're in competition with the rest of the world for those spare barrels. I can't remember the last time there was a situation as grim as that, where you know, just conjuring up the image of gas stations running dry and saying, listen, our supplier is telling us don't expect a delivery for 2 days or 3 days. Yeah. That is a very sobering realization, not only for individual motorists, but for industry. Well, of course, allocation, propane, natural gas may not be as effective as much, but anything that's deliverable that is available in the Persian Gulf, that is not just, of course, natural gas, liquid natural gas, oil, but also diesel, jet fuel, and gasoline are produced in those regions. The fact it's been locked out for such a long period of time, and you add to it what's happened in Russia with a lot of their refineries out of commission, the war in both parts of the world are going to leave and exact a significant toll, the likes of which I think we might be in the next few months, barring something dramatic that could shift positively. Get used to the word allocation. That's exactly what you've described. You don't get your gasoline when you want it at your favorite gas station. It's going to, it may be delayed for 2 or 3 days, and we may very well find ourselves having to look a little further for our fuel. Dan McTeague, I think we're going to be speaking to you again, and in not very long. I always appreciate you when you come on and share your expertise with us. Thanks very much. Really appreciate this. Have a great day. All right. To Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. After the news at 11 o'clock, we're going to talk about a rare food allergy that affects kids. Kind of scary for parents trying to get a diagnosis. But once it is diagnosed, there is some help. That's coming up.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.